My name is Kimberly Cato, and I'm the registered psychotherapist and CEO of True Roots Counseling Services, where we purpose to come alongside people who are overwhelmed and perhaps blindsided by life altering circumstances and give them tools and strategies designed to help them, you know, transform their trauma into triumph. Hi, y'all. Thank you so much for stopping in and um, joining us for this particular episode of Black Therapists Speak. Today, I'm really excited to be in a conversation with Mr. Blue. And I'm going to put it over to him to introduce himself and say a little bit about what brings him to the line, this line of work. So go ahead, Mr. Blue, take it away.
My name is Felipe Blue. I'm a licensed clinical addiction specialist in Durham, North Carolina, but I serve multiple counties. I've been working in this field for approximately 12 years as a licensed clinician and about 15 years overall as a mental health professional. What brought me to this field was basically a tumultuous life with a lot of barriers, which I came out of the fire on the other side. And based on the experiences I had regarding my mental health battles, as well as my mother's and my siblings, what I was not getting in mental health therapy, I felt that I could be the difference in regards to my approach to mental health therapy. I want to be what I wish I would have received. And so that's why I kind of entered the field. And I know this is the type of field or the type of thing I can do until I close my eyes for the final time, because it's that dynamic. People are so different. You would never get bored per se if you're doing it right, because every case, even with the same diagnosis, is going to present something totally different than the previous case. And your approach to how to assist them with their issues is going to have to be different, because it's person-centered, that person centered to them.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent.
Haitian immigrant, you know what I'm saying? Grew up in multiple areas, gang involved areas, the most tumultuous being LA. And just seeing a lot of things. So I think I can meet clients where they're at, especially in regarding the war-torn streets of Durham currently, regarding our gang violence. And I'm helping them. And, I establishing rapport rather quickly because, I walk those shoes and I'm coming from a non-judgmental stance, because I've been where you are or could have been. And not being defined by yesterday, because if I was, I would not be here today. That's and letting you know that yesterday does not define today. Focus on today for a better tomorrow.
Excellent. So you've mentioned a number of places: Haiti, LA, North Carolina. How did you go from one to the other to the other? What was your transition?
My dad was in the military, and then when my mom and dad split, just going with where various villages of our family might be, South Carolina, Connecticut, places like Florida, places like that where Haitians tend to migrate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how long have you been in North Carolina?
I've been in North Carolina since 2009. Okay. I graduated my master's program in 2008. And one of my friends, one of my besties in college, she was like, "Yo, Felipe, this is where it's at," because I was doing vocational counseling in South Carolina, and I just wasn't feeling it. I was like, "This ain't counseling. This doesn't feel like counseling to me. I don't like it." And then she said, "Well, there's an opportunity here. They're going to give you a phone interview first. Here's the answers." And so I came here on that. North Carolina's mental health system is night and day compared to South Carolina. South Carolina.
Really? How so?
South Carolina still has a public mental health way to go about doing it. And when it's public, it might be a cookie cutter format in regards to
right.
And depending on funding, all things may not be funded appropriately. Versus in North Carolina, we're privatized. So we have a lot of enhanced services
Okay.
we don't have in North Carolina, that we don't have in South Carolina. And so that was really one of the main reasons. In my practicum and internship, I worked with Dr. Leanne Morrison, and we did a lot of community-based therapy in rural communities. And in practice, no agency is going to do that per se. But
Yeah.
North Carolina, that's a norm because we have community-based therapy and community support team services, ACT services like that. Even outpatient therapy has a lot of, community-based approaches. So
Okay.
the best fit for me is I feel that you better meet somebody where they're at in their home, as they may feel guarded in the office setting. They may feel, a sense of they're superior to me, versus if I'm meeting in your home, you're the boss, you know what I'm saying? And I can get a better assessment of what's going on by the environment.
Yeah. Excellent. And so what were the issues and things you kind of alluded to within your family, within yourself, your dealings with mental health? What is it that you went through personally that you bring to the work that you do?
Well, like I said, we came from Haiti. My dad is Cuban, my mom is Haitian. My dad didn't like the fact that, he didn't want us using our native tongues when we came to America. We basically had to learn English, and you really wasn't supposed to speak your native tongue in the house anymore, as he left under some very trying conditions when he left Cuba. He was a political prisoner.
Okay.
So with that, he was able to join the military, do some things in the military. We moved around a little bit, but he was fighting his own demons, and some of those demons turned out into domestic violence against my mother. So around the age of 4, maybe 5, my parents divorced, and then she had to struggle on raising her children on her own with, family support here and there, which may or may not have been adequate, but support nonetheless. And I guess that's the stress that she was impacted as a single mother. But not only that, she had her own demons, sexually abused by her own father when she was a child, you know what I'm saying? And things like that, things that you bury and don't even talk about and don't even think about anymore. But then they come out, you know what I'm saying, subconsciously in regards to your approach to your male children, you know what I'm saying? Or even how you protect your daughter or how you don't protect your daughter, you know what I'm saying? It's based on your own experiences and what may become a norm to you. So, later my mom discovered she was bipolar disorder, you know what I'm saying? My sister definitely had her issues, never officially diagnosed, but she had substance abuse issues at a very young age. I battled with my mental health throughout my life, and I had my substance abuse issues, especially after my brother was killed. I definitely can't recall a good 2 years of my life after his death. No resemblance of any memory regarding it. So that's 2 years just disappeared, gone.
Absolutely.
And then the road back to recovery, or maybe not even, we won't even say the road back to recovery, the road to recovery. Because who's to say I was ever in recovery, as I was always battling some mental health demon or substance abuse demon.
Okay. And so it's all of that, the dynamics of the family, the intricacies of what's happened with you internally, that you are then able to meet people precisely where they are.
Right.
And help them find a way.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily being self-revealing regarding my past per se, but just, I think in a lot of ways, people can tell just by your approach to them that you have a story, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm a co-occurring disorder specialist. A lot of people who have addiction issues don't want to work with anybody who hasn't walked the walk, and they know almost immediately that, oh, you've been through something. I mean, maybe just the fact that, they Google me and they see something like, oh, yeah, he been through something.
Yeah. Absolutely. That it's beautiful that way, that people can actually, without you necessarily telling your story and your history, but you're able to see certain things in the client. And in retrospect, also, the client is very well able to see things in you and know that you come with a certain wisdom and understanding. If what I see is correct, then you managed to come through something and you're now sitting here. And so when you then offer, this is a potential way, or help them sort of come to understanding of where they are, where they want to be. They can see that you're essentially a point of focus, a reference point, an indication that this might also be possible for me. And when they can see that in you, I can really appreciate that. That's beautiful.
And that's my hope, saying that people don't have to be defined by any label, don't have to be defined by any experience regarding moving forward. I have criminal charges. Yeah, there was barriers to me getting my licensure and doing what I want to do in this field. Yeah. But where there's a will, there's a way.
That's right.
And I made that way, through the support, of course, through professional supports, natural supports. You know, you have to have the right formula in order to get through some of these fires.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the, my parent company, True Roots Counseling Services, my tagline is to transform trauma into triumph. And it sounds very much like you've done that transformation. You've transformed the trauma of your childhood and even the generational trauma that you've endured, and you've transformed it to be sitting here at this place of triumph where you can reach out to others who need to make that journey as well.
Right. Well, it's a lifelong journey. So it's a transformation ongoing until the day I die, because I ain't perfect and I still got a lot of work to do.
Absolutely.
And it really shows when I'm doing virtual learning with my children, like, oh, okay, I have a lot of work to do.
Are you doing that now, the virtual learning?
Ooh, man, I used to be a teacher, and oh my God, I can't imagine being a teacher today. And not only that, I definitely chose the right field, because I could not be a teacher today just based on, no. And I know that I'm glad, and I used to work for the Department of Social Services, and I'm glad I'm not in that department no more, because I'm pretty sure the teachers are making a lot of reports based on some things they're hearing and seeing. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like I might be on that list sometimes. Like,
oh no. Oh no.
This is not easy, and it's not really feasible. You know what I'm saying? How can I accurately address what I need to do in my life if I have to, address the issues of education of my children during virtual learning?
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. What's happening in North Carolina in terms of the impact of COVID? And I guess we can start with what's happening with the impact of COVID on school and what's happening with the youth. What's going on?
Every county, overall, the governor, basically says that, social distancing, we're at what they call a phase 2.5. Some schools might say, you stay home 3 days, you go to school 2 days.
Okay.
Other counties have elected to, it's all virtual, you know what I'm saying? Wake County has some incidences in which people did do the 2 and 3, that they had a COVID outbreak, so they had to back up off it. They're just not ready to go back to school yet, because we still have a lot of people that's out here that's infected or have the potential to be infected.
Okay.
So, like in Durham County, the kids get issued a Chromebook, which is the most disgusting machine on the planet.
No.
And you have to do virtual learning. But that's the crazy thing to me is that there was the expectation that everybody had internet. Not saying I don't, but I know they had to issue a lot of hotspots, especially to the immigrant population, because of that. You can't, it's 2020, and we can make a lot of assumptions. That's just not one of them.
That's right. Exactly. Internet isn't free.
Right.
It's not.
And not cheap. Ooh, boy.
Exactly.
I like to do a lot of things with this money.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
But it can be cheap. There are programs, if you have SNAP benefits, that you can get reduced internet for like $10, $12 and things like that. So there are programs available. You just have to know about them. And unfortunately, how do you get information? We're not really receiving information. Maybe if you watch the news, you can see the information. My psychiatrist says don't watch the news. It impacts me too much.
Yeah.
So how do I get the information? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I when all this started, I was one of those who had a blinder in terms of the internet availability. But once I became aware that really and truly not everybody would have internet availability. And
Right.
in or they might have a household of many kids, but only one computer. And so what do you do? What do you do in that household?
Right.
And those sort of barriers. And then just the barrier of as a parent, you're dealing with the stress and the uncertainty of all that is going on. And you're also trying to remain calm and able to teach. And that's like a brand new horrific skill, particularly if that's not one of yours. Yeah.
It's definitely not one of mine. I guess if it was somebody else's child, maybe. you have certain expectations for your children, you know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? You know, when they're misbehaving,
Yeah.
you can't put them right there in front of the Zoom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
10-minute break coming up. Oh, sucky.
and then there's the truth of kids don't always learn, or they don't always learn from their parents in the same way as they do from a teacher.
Right. There might be some anxiety or some angst regarding that. Like,
yeah.
Right. I agree with that.
So what about how is North Carolina? See, I'm up in Canada, and the way COVID is impacting us up here looks different than it does in the States. It looks different than it does in different states and even in different provinces. So I'm in Ontario, and it looks different here than it does anywhere else in Canada.
And I would assume so. What do I have? A prime minister?
Yeah.
Probably had a better action plan regarding the virus than we had here because of our leader.
Yeah.
In North Carolina, we have what they call utilization managers. And utilization managers are the ones that distribute the funds for services like outpatient therapy, enhanced therapy, substance abuse programs, etc. So utilization, they're over us. So they tell you what you can and what you can't do. They issue the guidelines on how to do the services.
Okay.
So, you know, when COVID hit, they gave us a blanket. You could do telehealth via whatever way it takes to do telehealth in order to meet the needs of your clients. Even ways that are not even HIPAA protected, like Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or things like that. If that was what the format that the client wanted to utilize. Okay. So that was, that gave a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we got special, you know, funding, you know, regarding PPEs and things like that.
Okay, wow.
Because we have to work, and you know, being just conscious of how to protect yourself when you're working with clients. Yeah. Maintaining a certain social distance and making sure you're protecting your eyes and your mouth and nose and all that stuff. Like I said, I'm a community-based therapist. I'm very fortunate. Okay. I'm definitely favored by God in many ways that I have not caught the virus, as a number of my clients that I've been exposed to have caught the virus. Wow. Wow. But what I suspect is in February, I was real sick, and maybe I had it then before they had like the real pandemic breakout. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm positive. I'm O positive, and they say the O positive and the O negatives aren't really impacted like everyone else by the virus. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So you continue to see clients in community? Yes. Okay. Sometimes that's the only way you can meet them, because everybody, like we made this same, just like we talked about the internet. Who's to say everybody has a smartphone with adequate gigabytes for a telehealth session? A 1 hour telehealth session via Zoom on a phone will eat up a gig 0.5. Okay. Right. Who's to say, you know, what if you had a 2 gig plan? That's 80% of your gigs right there. Okay. And so, wow. I didn't even realize that. I didn't even realize that. So yeah, it would impact in the same way as the kids with the
the Chromebooks or the
Right.
absence of the internet. It would impact
The
people's
worst internet device ever. Do not ever get a Chromebook.
Yeah. I'm so computer illiterate that even doing this is a miracle, trust me.
As long as you don't get a Chromebook, you're one leg up.
I will not venture into a Chromebook.
But I love Google. I love Google across the board with the exception of the Chromebook.
Okay. Oh, is the Chromebook a part of Google?
Yes.
Oh, I understand. Okay. I don't know anything about it.
Ignorance is bliss.
It really is.
Just give me what works. That's fine. No doubt.
So what is it that, are there things that have happened as a result of COVID that you know, aside from it being a horrific pandemic, but
Right.
are there light spots in it for you? Do you see glimmers of hope in the midst of this darkness?
I'll answer the question like this. When the pandemic hit, I was like, whoa, because it messed up all my plans. I had scheduling for conferences that I was going to, that were big conferences, the Black Mental Health Symposium, the Licensed Professional Counsels of North Carolina. I mean, I had all these monster trainings, monster facilitation sessions I was doing that was going to put me on the map like, whoa, he's going to be on Oprah next.
Oh.
Boom, pandemic hit. All that got canceled. Some of them got canceled. Some of them went virtual. Unfortunately, the way I do these facilitations, a lot of them are breakouts and workshops and activities and stuff, which I can't adequately translate virtually.
Yeah.
But I just like, so I had to hit a roadblock and I was like hurt for a minute.
Yeah.
But in being still, I got a clearer path to my nonprofit, More Than Therapy, in regards to doing it. So was able to situate some trainings to virtual, which was more beneficial. Excellent. Became more, I'm the kind of clinic that does therapy with clinicians, people that's in the field to help them avoid burnout, giving them the tools to avoid burnout.
Yeah.
So an influx of new clients to help them, because if you're going to burn out, this will be the time. Yes, absolutely. And sitting still long enough to write a book. Some books I've had some of my books since I was in technical college, 2004, 2006. That just bringing around in there, always a barrier in my mind. Oh, I don't have an illustrator. I don't have this, or I don't have this. But then I did a conference with NAMI. NAMI's national. Well, don't give me the line. NAMI's some kind of company, some kind of agency, profit that I guess helps people regarding their mental health issues, but not necessarily a mental health company per se. Okay. It's like a layman's mental health intervention of some sort, offering support regarding mental health. Okay. So NAMI Durham, they had me do a presentation, via Zoom. So I had to figure out how to make it dynamic virtually. Fortunately, I was able to figure it out, and it was so good, but so many themes kept popping up. And so my PowerPoint, along with the themes, basically was a book. Right. So the notes from my PowerPoint. Right on. Came up in the training or the session. Yeah. Came up with a workbook to supplement it, and it's doing very well on Amazon. Excellent. What's it called? Post-pandemic depression and anxiety and strategies to effectively deal with it. Excellent. That's absolutely exactly what we need at this time. What inspired it was not only the session, but it was a great session. I love it. It's one of my favorites. I still watch it to this day every now and then. Oh, but right. I kept seeing dirty mask in the ground. It's like, what contributed to a mask, someone discarding their mask and being dirty? And that's actually the cover of my book. Okay. Wow. That's really good. We'll be sure to put
that description or the information for the book in the description below, so you can
Yes.
put the book in and on Amazon.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Excellent. Well done. It's those sort of things that are really quite inspiring for me. That
Mm-hmm.
in spite of the the negatives that are attributed to the pandemic and the things that are going really horrifically wrong, there are lights in the midst of that tunnel. There are good things that came out of it. Your book and that entire process being one, right?
And removing negativity from me, being able to more appropriately see negativity, especially regarding certain relationships, personal, work related, and embracing or reconnecting or healing other relationships.
Excellent. Yes.
So me and my daughter, we was going through something at the same time. She graduated high school in 2020. Modern therapy was supposed to really do some big things in 2020. It just kind of pushed us back. But in hindsight, we both agreed that this was a great year for us as we were able to sit still, see what we really wanted and where we wanted to be.
Yeah. Wow. So she was supposed to be graduating in 2020. Well, she graduated.
She did graduate.
Yeah.
Just, not the way we envisioned it. Because, she was the one, she graduated in 2020, perfect vision, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, yes. Yes. Right. I know last year, this time, I kept touting 2020 as my year for clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere that I was, everything that I wrote, clarity was all about, I was so excited about 2020. And the truth of the matter is, I see far more clearly now as a result of what we've gone through in 2020, in spite of the fact that initially I was thinking, it's just blown my whole vision. But it really enhanced my vision. Because I was forced to sit still. And I think in the general busyness of life, we lose sight of truth. We lose sight of things that are really fundamentally important. And even when we know in and of our own selves that I should slow down, or I need to, I don't have time for that, is like a common thing we're saying, or at least I was last year. I don't have time for that. I can't stop. I got to go. But 2020, the whole world stopped, and there was no option but to silence the distractions and focus in on the things that we really need to tend to.
Right.
Is that something that you found?
That's the theme, and that's exactly where I'm at. I mean, it hurt me in some ways. I used to enjoy hosting game nights and things like that. Yeah, we can do it virtually. It's just not the same. Support groups for therapists, we still have them, but they don't look the same as they were in person. It feels a little impersonal in some ways, as they probably don't feel that they can be as open as, you're not really as connected vibe-wise as you would be in a room of clinicians or professionals. But like you said, sitting still, being still allows you to remove the distractions. Because as we go through, before the pandemic, as I went through this life, a lot of people were driving my bus for me. A lot of things were driving my bus for me. And then sitting still, I was able to remove some negative aspects of my life in which I was able to re-drive my own bus.
That's right. That's very true. Wow. How has it contributed to the work that you do with your clients?
The funny thing is, as horrific as we say the pandemic is, my client population is, I don't know, we have a particular type of client population. It's mainly crisis-oriented, addiction-oriented. The pandemic is nothing to them. They've already been going through trauma and crisis their whole lives.
Yeah.
It's the clinicians and the therapists, the
Yeah.
people that's working with them, that's breaking down and acting like clients. The clients are at baseline. There's no impact. In fact, it might have been more beneficial to them. They don't mind sitting still. They don't mind being quiet. They don't mind getting some supplements from the government here and there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Absolutely.
So as far as the client base, business as usual, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In some ways, some people fell off. I had a couple overdoses on my caseload. That was hurtful. That hurt me a little bit. Well, a lot. Still does, you know what I'm saying? Not really able to see my therapist like I want to because of the pandemic. But definitely could benefit from that right now. That's based on some of the things that I feel, sometimes we get in situations like this where we do the shoulda, woulda, couldas. And we always tell our clients, don't do that. Don't do that. There's nothing we can do about that. Just focus on now. But we're human. And we fall into that fallacy sometimes in which we do the same thing our clients do. And in that essence, aren't we hypocrites? Because we can't even do the same action plans that we apply to our clients.
It's very true. That's very true. One of the other people that I've been speaking with through Black Therapists Speak, she was talking about, laying down our own capes and our own resistance to getting help for ourselves as therapists. We tend to just sort of plug along, meeting the needs of those before us without acknowledging the fact that we have needs our own selves and getting them met, those needs met. So can you talk to me a little bit about what you do as a therapist for self-care?
Yes, of course. Before the pandemic, I was regularly seeing my psychiatrist and my therapist.
Yeah.
Now they just check in here and there via phone, not even telehealth, which is kind of sad. But I found that the crazy thing is before the pandemic, I was having a lot of symptoms related to depression and anxiety.
Okay.
I was trying to think what was going on. I think it was just life, you know what I'm saying? Nothing really particular stands out. Yeah, some relationship woes here and there, some career woes here and there. Nonprofit not popping like I thought it would, not getting the referrals I thought I would get. So I was really depressed and had a lot of anxiety,
Yeah.
Wanted a little bit of medication for the anxiety, you know what I'm saying? Nothing major, 0.5 Klonopin or something, Ativan or something. My therapist, my psychiatrist said, no, you don't need it. You're a therapist, use your skills.
Yeah.
I was so upset with her. My therapist just wants to do a lot of mindfulness exercises.
Oh no.
But my previous therapist who retired and went to work transitioned to work for a rape crisis center, Emily, she was the best. She was all about action orientedness. I mean, like action plans. Every session had an action plan or addressed the previous action plan. And that's it, and held me accountable. Emily was really focused, and that was the best. That's the kind of therapist I like. And action. I think when a therapist works with a therapist, I don't think mindfulness and DBT strategies, that's something that works for us per se. But I think action plans, being solution focused is what's most beneficial. At least that's what it was for me.
Yeah.
All that mindfulness, sitting still, breathing. Here's an M&M taste it. Be mindful of it. That pissed me off.
Right. Yes.
And I don't do that with my clients anymore because they might be pissing. I think I can see why they get so pissed off sometimes now. I feel it. I walk in your shoes. I respect that. We're not going to do that anymore.
Okay. Yes.
Having good conversations, good discussions with my friends and family. My daughter and I, we talk all the time because she's going to launch her podcast and we're getting that together. So I'll be a producer for her show. Do some support groups for people in the community, and those support groups aren't just for them. It's for us as the facilitators as well. We do a depression and anxiety one for minorities on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. via NAMI. And that's really been healing in a lot of ways, hearing other people's stories, sharing our own stories regarding what we might be experiencing as it being impacted by the pandemic or the riots, or not the riots, the protests, the George Floyds, the Breonna Taylors, things like that. We're human too, you know what I'm saying? We cry too, we feel pain too. We're not super people. We're not supermen. We're not super women.
No.
We're therapists and clinicians that bleed just like you.
Exactly.
And just sitting still, reading and writing and working on new projects, just staying busy, but not too busy.
Yes. Yeah.
Doing what the Franklin Covey said. Schedule your wellness activities as well as your work activities, and you'll be more enabled to do them or address them if you schedule them. If I say I'm gonna go for a walk for 30 minutes, I might not go for a walk for 30 minutes. But if I put it in my agenda, it's a to-do item in my agenda in which I will want to address my agenda, and I will walk 30 minutes that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Having my my self-care routine scheduled in my calendar has for a number of reasons. Number one, my clients schedule themselves, so they have access to my calendar to schedule their time. And so if I say, oh yeah, tomorrow morning I've got a free morning, I'm gonna go to the pool or do some such thing.
Right.
If I don't put it in the calendar, a client can easily take that time.
Right.
So that trained me just to secure time for myself. Became like an act of not really claiming that time for myself. And once it's claimed, I need to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Because I've become so trained by my calendar that if it's in there, that's what this is what I need to be doing.
Right.
So I found that is a very powerful tool for me to actually schedule my self-care routines, to schedule, as you say, my wellness. Right. In the absence of doing that, the time to go.
And your devices tell you. My phone tells me. My computer has a pop-up. It tells me. Yeah. Oh, it's like, I shouldn't be still plucking away at this keyboard. It's time to do some wellness.
That's right. That's right. We are Pavlov's
balance. I mean, my friend says don't use the word balance because sometimes it's going to be over here, sometimes it's going to be over there. Right. But for some reason, I always want to go back to balance. I just feel like you have to have. If you're going to be doing this for work or for progression in your life, you need to kind of offset it with this to have some health related wellness or some fun or some joy. You know what I'm saying? They say talk to each other a little bit, not just 100% work or 100% play. Yeah. Some work, some play, and schedule it so it works for you.
Yeah, exactly. What we kind of sort of talked about the impact of George Floyd, but I wanted to do an actual dive in that. How did, and when I say George Floyd and call his name, I don't say his name in denial of the multitude of names that we have of people who have been murdered and lost at the hands of the police. Right. But how did this moment impact you, impact your work?
I'm around the same age as George Floyd. So, a mortality issue came into play. Where do I stand in life and what will be my impact when I'm gone? And when I'm gone, will they dig up the dirt or will they talk about my successes? You know what I'm saying? Look how much dirt they try to dig up on this person, on George. What does all that have to do with this cop murdering this man? And then I also I look back and I look like, what can I do in my community and the work that I do to better benefit these young males, these young females, older males, older females, whoever, to have them be more understanding of the impact that their lives can have or can be. Stop doing the same BS that you've been doing. Yeah. Stop wasting your life. Stop wasting your time. And you may feel your life doesn't have a purpose, but your life can have a purpose. And we're all here for some reason, some purpose, I would assume. It may not be to climb the highest mountain or cross the widest sea,
No,
But
yeah.
if you have a child, and your purpose is to raise that child in the right light. If you have a niece or a cousin, same.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you live in a community and you're on Section 8 or get welfare benefits, then maybe your purpose is to build yourself up so you don't have to rely on a democratic notion of socialism that
Yeah.
empowers you today, or that you thought empowered you, but would actually broke down and destroyed the Black family and causes you to be a financial slave.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So, and then, you know, holding my politicians responsible. If it's here in America, Democrats and Republicans, to me, aren't that much difference.
No, yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, even though I consider myself an independent, voted primarily Democratic in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
But then after, you know, my friend Mercer Prescott, we do a show about politics on Mondays,
Okay.
and he just really educates me in these things, and it's just amazing how much damage the Democrats have done. And then when we really do the history, we see that the Democrats historically weren't for the Black people, that they only became kind of like for the Black people in the 60s regarding political alignments.
Oh.
So these welfare programs, these Section 8 programs, what do? They cause a dependence,
Mm-hmm.
a slavery of financial dependence in some ways, and broke down and destroyed Black families, Black and brown families, and poor white families. So it's not all us. Because, you know, poor people don't count. They don't mean nothing. They don't vote. Their vote doesn't matter. You know, they tell us all kinds of things. We hear all kinds of things coming up. And that I have family in Baltimore. I have family in New York. I have family in Miami. I have family in many Democratic cities.
Yeah.
And if you look at these Democratic cities and you look at these areas destroyed, disgusted, drug infested, architecture torn and debilitated, shacks and things that should have been condemned. And these are Democratic controlled towns and counties that's been Democratic for years upon years, decades upon decades. And they look at, oh, we're here for the people. If you're here for the people, why do our cities look like this? Mm-hmm. So just holding our political leaders, if you want to call them that, or we just call them heads of state or whatever, mm-hmm. holding them responsible, writing them and talking to them and talking to my people about make the right choice. Don't throw your vote away. Don't give it to them because they haven't earned it. In this political landscape that we find ourselves in, where we have Trump running for re-election and we have Biden running for president, there's no clear, I mean, people say, oh, it's clear, you vote for the lesser evil. That's not good enough for me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. What is Biden giving us? What is Biden going to do for us? And it doesn't have to be from Black people or brown people, but for us as a whole. And what is these Democratic so-called leaders in Baltimore and Maryland and all these other places that are debilitated by crime, Chicago, that are known as Democratic cities that have been for years, what are y'all going to do to address these issues? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. A lot of people look at the Republicans as being racist, and but I know for a fact that many Democrats are racist. So, you know what I'm saying? You're not telling me anything about racism. Look at the policies that can help us and benefit us.
Yeah. And in all this, how does it come into the work that you do as a therapist? Like when you look at the political structure and the socioeconomic structure and the various structures under which we're all governed, how do you take all of that and then funnel it in to the work that you do as a therapist?
I empower and I educate my clients. I let them know that today is a day that you can do what you need to do, your action plans to address your progress towards your goals. That yesterday doesn't define today. As you may have a felony, you may have a misdemeanor, etc., that you feel it inhibits you. Educating them regarding programs that basically erase those things or erase that. Changing the culture, by education, as a lot of things we're taught or we're educated about, especially in regards to our school system, in which to help people educate their own regarding the right information, giving my people the right information, giving them the tools to find the information for themselves, and just being the best role model and example I could be regarding navigating this world that we're in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when I struggle, you know, maybe giving them a hint of a person like me, and it might just actually be me, about how he navigated this world that he finds himself in, that he might have been pulled over and stopped and harassed by a cop, and how he was able to navigate that instead of getting huff and puff and want to retaliate.
Yeah.
You can't win by fighting. I mean, I'm
No.
not saying we can't win by being pacifists either. We
Yeah.
win by the power of our vote and by being
Yeah.
educated, by going to these board meetings and these county meetings and not being present.
Yes.
This is the problem. Let's see, here we had a lot of marches for, you know, Black Lives Matter and things of that nature. 95% of the people marching did not look like this. You know what I'm saying? They look like this. And that was the problem. They're not gonna, they can't be our savior. We have to be our own savior.
Exactly. 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 It's interesting how many times I hear, regardless of who the individual is or how they're in their place of stuckness, they're looking externally for someone or something to save them. And then wondering why they feel so disempowered and unable to move. But if your motivation is external, you'll always be in a position of disempowerment. And so teaching people to look within to find their power and their motivation and their get-upness, that they are the savior that they do seek, has been really revolutionary for me personally, as well as revolutionary for me in terms of the work that I teach and bring to my clientele. We really do need to look within. And then in looking within, doing that, introspection to such a point, we're able to find our power. Then we can rightly look at the circumstances and situations around us and find different ways to address the issues and the barriers that are before us.
Yes,
Oh, sorry, were you about to say something? You were.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I said, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Well, what do you have to say to all that? What do you have to say to that?
To all of that, we have a lot of work to do, one day at a time. And I think clinicians need to have a more uniformed approach to addressing it. A lot of times I see a lot of burnout, and I see a lot, I do compliance for an agency, and I see a lot of times in which they're just there. They're not really doing what needs to be done. And people cycling through services, or people not getting better and have to stay in services longer because they're not getting the benefit of true interventions or true evidence-based practices in order to be better.
Yeah.
I think something that can help clinicians is ongoing supervision even after you secure your licensure. I think you could be strong, you could be one of the best clinicians ever, but we all could find benefit from counting on somebody or bouncing off somebody regarding certain cases. Not taking the cookie cutter way to getting your CEUs you need for relicensing. You know what I'm saying? Actually taking some classes or some CEU classes that will truly enhance the work you do, or boost the work you do. Sometimes we might have took motivational interviewing 2 or 3 times. Find an enhanced version to really make you really say, I'm invigorated to really start using this more often. Yeah, I still struggle with motivational interviewing. I have 2 or 3 I go to as strategies, but there's so many more. I know myself I could benefit from boosters or more ongoing training regarding motivational interviewing, because I know that can really impact change. Yes, not only with your clients, but in your life, in yourself.
Exactly. It's funny, the being a continuous learner, I think, is one of the things that has genuinely saved me in terms of, I've been doing therapy since the mid-90s.
Okay.
And
thank you for your work.
It has, if I were to be sitting here today on the things that I learned in the 90s, I wouldn't be sitting here today with the things that I learned in the 90s. You need to continually learn. And oddly enough, even some things that I took in the 90s that I would say, oh yeah, I've done that. I already did that. When I go back and look at it, it's like, wow, I forgot this. Oh my goodness, I don't know. And it's like a whole new
using a whitewashed version or a modified version or a skeleton version of the skills that you could be using by getting that booster and remembering.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I agree. The booster, the continuous learning. And one of the things that really blessed me was being able to shadow when I had my staff team, and I would shadow them and watch them, doing the things that they do in community and whatnot. That too sparked the skills in me and resurrected things that I hadn't used before. And they come with new and innovative trainings and teachings that I'm not in school now to learn in the same manner that they do. So all those opportunities to enhance your learning and to sharpen your skills and be able to have the right tools in your toolbox, so to speak, when a different client is before you. Yeah. That was one of the reasons that Black people or Black therapists speak has really been a spark in my heart because we've got so many therapists all over. There were two things. Number one, there are so many therapists that I really want to learn from, and this is a great way to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
And the other thing too was that I was hearing from a lot of clients, particularly in this climate, when they find me in social media or wherever, they were really quite surprised, saying, "I didn't know like there are no Black therapists, and I'd feel better going to therapy if I knew that it was going to be a Black therapist on the side." And I was like, there are plenty of us, but clearly people don't know. And so having this as a repository, so to speak, of therapists all over who are doing phenomenal work is really a joy in my heart. And so what do you think about, or have you heard people saying that there aren't Black therapists, or they're not enough? Have you ever heard that?
Oh no, Durham is very Black. We don't have that problem. So we don't have that problem at all. Effective, good Black therapists, that might be another conversation.
Okay.
But we have plenty of Black therapists.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
We have multiple schools that have social work and therapy programs here. We have UNC, we have NCCU, we have Wake Med, we have Duke. So we have a lot of social work or therapy schools here. So we're just here, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that's what brought you to, well, you started in South Carolina, and then that other program your friend brought you up to North Carolina. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Other question, we're going to kind of divert.
Okay.
Is there an impact for you of the death of Chadwick Boseman?
Yeah, another person around my age. Yeah, I mean, he was strong, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even know, nobody really knew that he was sick, you know what I'm saying? And it just brought an awareness that we as Black people, especially Black males, as who are traditionally non-compliant with going to the doctors, and understandably, history has hurt us in a lot of ways. One of the thing that stands out the most is that the Tuskegee experiment.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I don't know if Canada's really familiar with our histories. They're very deplorable. that they might have a lot of reservations regarding going to the doctor. And the way our health systems are set up, we don't necessarily get the right type of care for physical health or mental health help, let's be honest. Yeah, that hurt. All right, because I liked him a lot. He had a lot of powerful, and I want to think now that in hindsight, I think he sought those powerful roles to make a true impact because he knew he was dying. He wanted to be remembered for some iconic roles, and I've seen many of his movies, and I enjoy them. And I don't even collect DVDs anymore or get the digital library movies or whatever, but I think I will add those to a digital library cloud or whatever. Because he was that impactful. He helped a lot of people. I think. And just his strength regarding going through his illness, not being out there with it, private to his family. And some of the decisions he made regarding his family, not even starting a family of his own. He was married, but they didn't have children because he knew that he didn't want his wife to have to raise a child on her own or impact her future. I just think he's very, very wise and for his age, very powerful, very strong. And I just think, I hope I can have an impact like that in my final days. But I ain't trying to have no final days for at least 50, 60 years.
I hear that. I heard too, just when I heard about his passing and I looked at the work that he'd done during the years of his illness, I was just like, that clearly to me is intentional. The iconic men that he picked up and within the Black community to display and showcase their lives and their essence in a way that would bring Black people pride. Like after seeing Black Panther, I was then drawn to anything that he did. And watching, the stories of these, like Jackie Robinson and Thurgood Marshall and James Brown, and just to see them on the big screen in such a manner, I was just so impressed with him. And I feel very much like he left us a love letter and an encouragement to say, in spite of the adversity that you face, great, magnificent things are possible. And particularly in this climate where we are faced with adversity, it is really quite beautiful to have that message of hope in the midst of this crisis. I thank you so much for
what I hope, though, I just hope they don't try to replace him. We just kill that story of Black Panther. Unless they decide to bring Killmonger back and let him be the Black Panther. I might can go with that.
I heard a rumor that it's his sister who's going to take his place.
Shuri. I can see that.
And so that's what I heard, and that made me happy, actually. We're gonna wrap up, but I wondered, is there anything else that you'd wanted to share or impart before leaving?
Yes, I just want people to stop being so isolated, stop being so individualized. I come up from a concept called Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because we are. So get the right people around you, invest in the right people, have them invest in you, remove negative people from you, and try to embrace positive people. And let's look at your circle and try to have a good circle around you. I remember one time I was dating this doctor, and she was like, she basically broke up with me because I didn't have any goals of wanting to be a doctor or whatever. So I guess in her circle, in regards to what she wanted to be around professionals like doctors and things like that. And that in my circle that I was in, I was the smartest, I was the brightest, I was the most, established person. And she said, that's just, you shouldn't want to be there. You want to be somewhere else where you can grow. That stuck with me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so very much for joining us here today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I'll make sure that your information is in the description below.
Yes, ma'am.
And I look forward to an opportunity for us to speak again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
You too. Be well.
Be well. Bye. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you ring the bell? Can you subscribe to this channel? Can you share this message with friends and family? Let them know. Black therapists speak. Bye now.